Okay, so here we go. Welcome back. I'm going to try to look at the camera, not down at the screen. But this is I Hate Bully. This is episode 2. When we left off the first episode, we were talking about um, how I was raised. And we're talking about like a conservative home. I can't talk today. And just kind of how that molded my mindset as I was going from transitioning from that Christian school to a high school. A couple things. Number one, there's nothing wrong with a conservative home, right? There's nothing wrong with a religious based upbringing. There's nothing wrong with a Christian, Catholic, however, a private school. There's nothing wrong with those things. There's nothing wrong with the public school system. Well, there's several things wrong with the public school system, but there's nothing wrong with sending your kids there. So when we left off in episode 1, I was getting on that school bus, right? A big yellow bus had come down the gravel road, and there I was, looking like I was ready to go to church. I had my backpack on, or my little side satchel thing right with the cross. Had gotten on the bus. The bus driver makes a comment like, "Oh man, you poor thing." I look down the bus and I see all of these things going on that I was talking about in episode 1. Finally, I find my seat and I'm clutching my backpack or my side satchel, right? And I'm thinking, I need to draw. I need to draw something. So to give you a little bit of insight on why I thought that, I'm extremely artistic. I love drawing, and I draw my feelings. Even now at age 43, I draw them. It's a form of therapy for me. At that time, at that moment, at that crucial moment, sitting in the bus, I was so scared. I was nervous. I was panicky. I was sweaty. No one was coming to save me. I wanted a savior. I wanted help. You know what? Let's be real. I just wanted a friend. So I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. A lot of that probably was my own fault. Not probably, a lot of that was my fault. But I had imaginary friends, friends that I would draw, superheroes that would come in and save the day. For those of you that have followed me on LinkedIn, you've heard the story about Terrific Trevor, right? Little young kid has a red cape on with a T on the back. Terrific Trevor can zoom around, save the day. Wanted to be a hero. On that bus, I needed a hero. The only way to bring a hero to life in my mind was to draw it. It was in here. I needed to put it on paper. And as the bus pulls away from the house, all I can think about is, I wonder if I can draw a superhero while the bus is moving, or if the lines will be too squiggly. Perfectionist in my art, even at a young age. But that's what I was concerned about. I was concerned about if I could draw a superhero and it would look okay. Because the more okay it looked, the more real it looked, I thought maybe the better chance I had of coming to life. Now that's silly, I know, but that's how my imagination would work. Even going into high school, throughout high school, and I'm going to be honest with you, still to this day. So there I was sitting there, and I'm quiet. And for those of you that have been bullied, for those of you that are quiet and you're among like a raucous crowd, I don't even know if I just used that word right, but whatever, we're going to keep going. Loud crowd, right? If you're quiet, man, right? They hone in on that shit real quick. I was getting called names. I didn't even know what they meant. Obviously, I can't repeat a lot of them. But I didn't know what they meant. Worse off, I didn't know why I was being called that. Like, I didn't understand. I just got here. But already, didn't matter, boys or girls, I was being called that. So I'm trying to like navigate all of this in my brain. Once again, just thinking I could just let me shut it out. I'll just draw something and it'll be okay. I'll draw the Hulk, or I'll draw something to save me or protect me, and I'll be okay. I'll be sheltered. The bus keeps traveling down the gravel road, eventually hits the highway, and we head towards high school. Now, I don't know what y'all's first day was like, but man, I stepped off that school bus, my foot hit concrete, and I'm looking at this building going, I don't even want to think about what's inside, because what I just experienced, the vehicle that took me here was absolute. I mean, it was horror. It sucked. So I was panicking. You get in there, right? You got to go find your locker. You find your locker. And I can remember finding my locker and understanding that I had to put a lock on it, right? All of these things that I needed to do. But I can remember opening the door to my locker and absolutely loving the dark space inside. I don't know why. Soon I'd find out that you can actually fit inside that locker. But that's another story for another time. I opened the locker and I could see the dark space, and I thought, ooh, there's no chaos in there. It became a place. It became a place for me to kind of escape to kind of look inside. There's nothing else around. There was no other noise. It was quiet in there. It was safe inside that locker. That is where my art would start to be housed. Plastered on the inside, up on the shelf. Notebooks full of it, full of sketches that I would draw during the day. So school starts, right? You get your locker. You're trying to navigate, trying to find your way. The hallway itself is a gauntlet. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I hope you mentioned something about this and your experiences in the comments after you listen or watch this episode. The hallway itself of a high school is a gauntlet. You're trying to navigate, you're trying to find your way to your first class. Maybe you have an assembly to start off the year. So you're trying to navigate to where you're supposed to be. You're panicking because you got your locker, or you know where you're supposed to go. Or sorry, you knew where that is. You get everything set up there. Now you've got to go find out where where the freshman class is, where you're supposed to be for an assembly. Or maybe you're simply, maybe it's a brief introduction. Hey, over the loudspeakers, and please report to your class. But you're at a heightened level of anxiety, of anxiousness, panic sometimes. So, got to find my way around. If you're not a part of any clique, if you're not a part of any group, if you're a newbie, especially if you're a newbie that sticks out like a sore thumb, like I did, no one's going to help you. Nobody's coming to save you. You're wandering alone. And the more you wander alone, the more fear and kind of despair starts to creep in. You clutch your notebooks like this, you just want protection. You just want to feel safe. Made it to the assembly. I sat by myself. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know where to go. Found the freshman class. Knew, it was actually labeled. So, I got lucky there, right? But sat by myself. And I wondered, I can remember thinking, there's a couple things that I can remember from all of this and that really stand out. And I can remember thinking, am I going to do all of this alone? It's going to be a long 4 years. It's going to be a lot of art. It's going to be a lot of superheroes. And it was. I was sitting there by myself, and this kid, he was actually in my class, not going to name drop, but there was room on the bleacher row beneath me, and he gets up there, or he's coming up the bleachers, and there's room, like I said, right below me. He doesn't take that path. He comes up to where I'm sitting, and I'm sitting there like this, like you should, my legs aren't even stretched out. And he steps on both of my feet and he just keeps walking. Now, about probably 3 steps after, he turns back and he goes, "Oh, sorry, Didn't see you there. It's almost like you're invisible. I'll never forget that because I felt invisible, especially after that. That hurt. Now, there was only 2 other buddies that were with him, and they snickered. Now, this isn't the actual bully that I mentioned in a lot of my LinkedIn posts, but I can remember that. Like, oh, I didn't see you there. It's almost like you're invisible. So assembly goes on, and I don't remember what it was about, of course, introduction to the year, but then we've got to go to our classrooms. And I can remember in the hallway, I would use the bricks, like the bricks of the hallway, like that was my safety. I almost dragged my shoulder, like you're just kind of wishing you could be part of the wall and you could just like blend in and just get to class without anybody seeing you. That comment that he had made about being invisible, yeah, at times you wish you weren't invisible. At times you wish you were. And I wished I was invisible at that time. I wanted to get to class. I didn't want anybody else to come up to me. I didn't want anybody else to say anything. Now, obviously I didn't look like I do today. Probably, I don't know, 115, 125, soaking wet. Adam's apple stuck out farther than my nose. Just a lanky thing. Sorry. Some of this stuff just isn't easy to talk about. And the reason why, I'll put a pause in the story. The reason why it's not easy to talk about is because part of me looks at that as a form of weakness. I have built myself up, I have built myself up into this, like going back and talking about when I was weak. And I know, I wasn't weak. It's just kind of how my brain works now and thinks of it now. Like I should have stood up for myself. I should have pushed back. So I apologize. I know you're here to listen, and I know that you're like, hey, just get on the story. So I apologize for the pauses and things like that, but it's a journey, right? It's a journey, and going back, like unlocking these doors in the brain and going and reliving and bring those things back up. You can't help sometimes but go, eesh, oof, man, I should have dealt with that in a different way. Hindsight's 20/20. Anyway, want to be invisible, want to get to class. I get to class. I sit in my desk. Now, remember how I talked about the locker and how the dark space, I was just like, ooh, I like that. That's a place of escape. I can just look in there and it's quiet and it seems safe. Yeah, the same thing for the classrooms. Kind of, sort of. Let me rephrase that. Not the classrooms, so let me adjust. Not the classrooms, the actual desk, right? Sitting there at the desk, looking down and then looking at the teacher, of course, but just focusing on here and up there brought me a sense of peace. A calming effect. Because I could just focus on whatever work needed to be done or focus on the teacher's words. Because I knew as long as the teacher was talking, I probably wasn't going to have anything thrown my way. I probably wasn't going to have anything said to me. Right? I mean, unless they wanted to get in trouble. But I can remember sitting there in that, at my desk, and I can remember thinking, I wonder if this is how it's going to be. I wonder if I'll make any friends. I wonder if I'll make any friends that will like want to join me and we'll be okay together because we have each other. I wonder if I'll make any friends. I thought maybe first day, right? I thought maybe there's a snowball's chance in hell that maybe I might make one that day. I didn't, but We'll get there, right? Crew, I appreciate you listening to this. Now, I want to let you know, I'm not going to go day by day and talk about every single day in high school, right? But I wanted to kind of bring into focus what it was like transitioning from that school bus into the school. What I felt, what kids feel that feel inferior, what kids feel when they do get bullied right out of the gate. And what you can do at home to help them if they're experiencing that at school. Please touch base with your youth. Talk with them. And if you happen to have somebody around you that is a bully, talk to them too. Talk to them about their actions and how their actions are impacting others around them for the negative. There's ways to have those conversations without, obviously, triggering an altercation. Anyways, I've hit my 15-minute mark. So thank you for being here for episode 2 of I Hate a Bully. In the next episode, we're going to start to actually go over some of the written material on LinkedIn. And we're actually going to dive into some of those stories. I'm going to narrate them, I'm going to tell them, and I'm going to talk about the experiences in detail. Now, this is going to be it'll be an emotional journey. It's not going to be an easy one. It's not. But at the end of every episode, we're going to look at how we can take that, what we've talked about, that experience, and how we can learn, how we can grow from it. Thank you for being here. And thank you for enduring all of the pauses and me not looking at the camera and all of that. Eventually, I'm going to get better at that. I will. But thank you, most importantly, for just being here. I appreciate it. Hey, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And please, you can find this here on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify and coming soon to Apple Podcasts. So make sure you subscribe and please provide me feedback and your thoughts on the episode. It's how I get better and it's how I grow. It's from me to you. Much love. And we'll see you next time.